Hi, back again. It's lovely to see you here. This is a video that I'm making in celebration that the campaign for an X marker on passports has run aground. The High Court have refused permission for gender-neutral passports in the UK. This is great news. It is reported on the BBC, and I'm going to read that article to you. The title reads, Gender Neutral Passports. Campaigner Christy Ellen Cain loses Supreme Court case. It's by Joseph Lee. It's on the BBC News website. And it's illustrated by a picture of a woman, white woman, I would say 50s, brown hazel eyes, incredibly delicate features in a very feminine skull, a completely shaved head. You just can't, your genetics will show. Anyway, it says a campaigner has lost a Supreme Court case challenging the government's refusal to issue gender-neutral passports. It goes on to say, Christy Ellen Cain said the application process breaches human rights laws by not allowing an X option. But the court said that applicants' gender was a biographical detail which can be used to confirm their identity. Christy Ellen Cain said the case will now go to the European Court of Human Rights. The campaigner, who has called for the legal recognition of non-gendered identity for decades, said on Twitter that the UK government and judicial system are on the wrong side of history, and this is not the end. Gender-neutral passports are already issued by Argentina, Australia, the US, Canada, Denmark, India, Malta, Nepal, the Netherlands, New Zealand and Pakistan, while Germany has introduced an intersex category. Oh my God, can you imagine going through passport control and somebody discloses your incredibly personal, intimate medical history, which has no relation? Oh, goodness. The Supreme Court unanimously dismissed Christy Ellen Cain's appeal, which came after the Home Office won an earlier ruling in the Court of Appeal. Lord Reid, President of the Supreme Court, said in the ruling that gender could be checked against birth, adoption or gender recognition certificates as part of confirming an applicant's identity. It is therefore the gender recognised for legal purposes and recorded in those documents which is relevant, he said. He said Christy Ellen Cain's interest in having an X passport was outweighed by other considerations, including maintaining a coherent approach across government. There is no legislation in the United Kingdom which recognises a non-gendered category of individuals, he said. Across the statute book assumes all people can be categorised in two sexes or genders, terms which have been used interchangeably. Subtitle, False Declaration. At a hearing in July, Kate Gallifent, QC, representing Christy Ellen Cain, told the court non-gendered people and non-binary people have to make a false declaration to get a passport, which strikes at the foundation of the standards of honesty and integrity to be expected of such official processes. But Lord Reid said that while non-gendered identity may be central to Christy Ellen Cain's private life, the designation of an identity in a passport is not a particularly important facet of the appellant's existence or identity. Representing Her Majesty's Passport Office, part of the Home Office, Sir James Eadie QC said it was obviously problematic and highly undesirable for only one part of government to recognise non-binary or non-gendered identities. He said in written arguments it could lead to a person being treated as having one sex or gender by the Passport Office and a different one by other parts of government. The BBC. How far our institutions have fallen. Did you spot the bias in that article? Incredible. Incredible. Now, we move on. It's also reported by Sex Matters, fantastic organisation. This is how I found out the news. I followed them on Twitter. This is an organisation set up by Maya Forstater and several other women, all very excellent, all very sound. Support them if you can. There are lots of different ways to support them on their website, which is sex-matters.org. I'm going to read their article too. So, the Sex Matters article on their website, the title is Ex-Passports Appeal Dismissed. It reads, the Supreme Court has unanimously dismissed Christy Ellen Cain's case for an ex-passport. The judgment states there is no judgment of the European Court of Human Rights which establishes a positive obligation to recognise a gender category other than male or female, and none which would require the Secretary of State to issue passports without any indication of gender. Dealing with Ellen Cain's argument that having to select F in applying for and using a passport is demeaning and distressing, the judgment says the purpose of providing that information is not to inform HMPO as to the applicant's feelings about their sexual identity, and the applicants are not being forced to lie about those feelings. In response to the argument that the government should recognise Ellen Cain's status as a non-gendered person because it had delivered treatment (brackets, a hysterectomy) close brackets, via the NHS, the judgment is clear that the NHS did not recognise the applicant as being a non-gendered person. What it recognised was that the applicant was suffering from the medical condition of gender dysphoria, and it provided medical treatment to alleviate that condition. Sex matters in life and law, continues the article. The judgment notes that legislation in the UK assumes that all individuals can be categorised as belonging to one of two sexes or genders, terms which have been used interchangeably. The judgment, at paragraphs 52 and 53, emphasises that sex matters in life and law, referring to legislation requiring the sex of a child to be recorded on their birth certificate, laws on marriage and succession to hereditary titles, criminal offences such as female genital mutilation, and the raft of legislation that assumes that only a woman can give birth to or be the mother of a child. It also highlights the materiality of sex in service provision. A binary approach to gender also forms the basis of the provision of a wide variety of public services. The prison estate, for example, is divided into male and female prisons. Hospitals have wards where patients can only be of a single sex. Local authorities may fund rape crisis centres or domestic abuse refuges, which offer their services only to women. This is brilliant. Many schools only admit pupils of a particular sex. Much of this is underpinned by or permitted by legislation. Fantastic. Ultimately, the court finds that it was in the public interest to have a coherent administrative and legal system for recognising sex, and that this outweighs Ellen Cain's interest in not having sex accurately recorded. We move on to the Sex Matters response. Sex Matters welcomes this judgment. Executive Director Maya Forstater said, "The Supreme Court has made a resounding statement that sex matters in life and law, and that legal and administrative systems need to reflect this. We are delighted that this judgment recognises the public interest in having coherent systems for all and does not allow that interest to be displaced by the wishes of a small minority who find their sex distressing. The judgment emphasises that sex is important as a biographical detail which can be checked against birth certificates and other official records when confirming someone's identity. Unfortunately, the government is already permitting people to record self-identified gender in place of legal sex across many different public or official documents, including passports, driving licenses, and legal records. This is going to be a huge problem for digital identity systems. The Secretary of State for the Home Office argued for the importance of coherent public and legal systems. There now needs to be a cross-government process to take stock of existing incoherence and establish clear principles for data users and providers. I think that this quote, which is highlighted on the Sex Matters website, is just perfect. There is no judgment of the European Court of Human Rights which establishes a positive obligation to recognise a gender category other than male or female, and none which would require the Secretary of State to issue passports without any indication of gender. The UK Supreme Court, 15th of December 2021. So that's some good news to round the day off. Of course, this campaigner is likely to pursue her case further, but the fight back starts here. You know, it's an absolute travesty that we no longer have accurate biological information in our official documentations that's so important for crime prevention, preventing human trafficking. You know, borders are the one place you would think it would be relatively simple to get people to understand how important that is. The sooner we can return to reality, the better.